This is how Stan.lee takes a morning bath. I usually soak the redfoot, or I'm not quite sure because if you look at the head, it has some of the same characteristics of a yellowfoot. As you see in the back, it's a limited spot, which says that it's probably a redfoot. But in the funny skit, somebody who I got her from about a year and a half, 2 years ago, rescued her from somebody that wasn't really taking care of it. So these are from not proper humidity. A lot of people talk about protein, and unfortunately, a lot of people, because of the age we're in, is anti-animal matter or protein for their tortoises. But redfoots and a few other forest dwellers need to have protein to help build their shells. There's an enzyme and food breakdown and fat that transport calcium to her shell. But as you can see, her shell is actually coming back nicely. Over time, these will get smaller and smaller as long as you properly hydrate them, feed them water, and I do coconut, and then I'm going to be switching over to tea oil because it leaves less residue on her shell, but it also prevents against, rot, parasites, or anything else that may come along, because once we put these guys outside, they're at the elements. But this is her little tiny soaking tub. It's not very big, and it's by design just so I can keep track of it. I also have a little bit of a heater right here to help keep the air temperature, because right now she's in the basement, and this tends to be the warmest part of the house. And we just built a nice big enclosure for her, and so I do soakings about 4 or 5 days a week with her, make sure she hydrates, and I usually put a nice level of coconut oil on her shell, not so much on her skin because she needs to absorb some UV a little bit at least, but the water's very warm. It's not hot, but very, very warm. So you and kitties out there, make sure that these guys don't really swim. They sort of float and dodge along, as you can see here. They will swim, but it's only because there's air in their lungs that keeps them up, and you can drown these guys real easily, especially young ones who don't know what they're doing. So mom, dads, keep track of it. But these guys are great. I mean, no noise. They actually will eventually defecate in here, urinate in here, and so when they're done doing that, you rinse them off obviously with warm tap water, and then you put them back in their enclosure. I don't like putting a cover on anything, so always heat and moisture is a concern, but I've got a brand new mister that I'm going to put into the cage to help make sure the temperature, the humidity is between 70 and 80 degrees. I mean, the humidity is 70-80% of the air, but I like open air because it keeps the mold down, the breathing. It can get stagnant in there at different times, and I know some breeders like it, but Stan.lee's been doing pretty good. She's doubled in size since I first got her, so we're doing something right. But this is Stan.lee. And the other thing I do is I'm starting to grow again. Over here is lettuce and endives. Over here would be lavender. Here is what we're trying to do, is we're doing all kinds of mix of clover, and it's all coming eventually. Clovers are kind of tricky to grow, believe it or not. These guys are a lot easier in their little starter packs, but as you can see, lavender takes a little bit. It's got it well watered. I got light on here, full spectrum. And over here on this other side is I have collard greens, because Ernest from the redfoot breeder suggested those as far as calcium, so we make sure she has plenty of that, calcium, green vegetables. And over here we got catgrass, and we have more clover growing in here in her enclosure. So it's one of the things we did, is make sure we planted it. So it's good for us. She doesn't really care. She's a tortoise, she's domesticated. There's not an opinion poll of what redfoot's like, so I think some people go overboard on it, but for us it looks really good. And there's a hibiscus growing. There's the bodyguard Godzilla 1978, but there's the hibiscus tree we have in here. We'll be transferring that back outside once the weather in Michigan gets better, which is in a couple months. But a lot of great advice from everybody. These lights will be replaced. These heat lamps we're going to eventually replace with just heaters, which these are. This one seems like the heater is going down, but the whole enclosure underneath here is about 88%. It shows 41% humidity. I got a little water in there. Technically, the humidity in here is much higher than that. We have another one in here that I'm trying to, but we'll show you the humidity. There's the enclosure. Pretty straightforward enclosure. I mean, her whole entire closure is pretty basic setup. It was a whole weekend of work and making sure it's right, getting the temperature. We do have a mister that's going to go on here, so when the mister is running, functioning well, the humidity is upwards of 80-85% easily with the humidity, with the moisture coming in here. With these heat lamps, it tends to dry out, and also with the heat, or the the ceramic heaters. But this is her hide. She still likes her old tree log, and she walks around the enclosure with it, which is kind of funny, to be honest with you. But tortoises are kind of creatures of habit. But this is the soaking day. There's the food, and there's the hibiscus that she totally loves, and I'll probably throw that flower in there because she seems to love it. I have no idea what the nutritional value of the flowers are or the hibiscus, but they tend to love it. And you can see that I've got calcium throughout it, and she pretty much chows on it. So this has been a big move for her. Tortoises and all reptiles are kind of creatures of very much habit, and she's still adjusting to the fact of what she's got this encaged. I mean, her small one, she used to walk around all the time. Now that it's larger, she's trying to figure out where everything's at because she feels like she's getting lost. You think about it, doesn't know why things changed. You can't explain it to her like you can a kid, so it makes it difficult. But anyways, people are asking a bunch of questions and private messages, so I'm just trying to set it up. But I'll probably enclose part of this, but I'm not big on enclosing it. It's might be a little extra work for me to maintain humidity and temperature level, but this is kind of being a central piece in our basement as we're redoing it. All right,